Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Ferrari HP Esports series. We head back to the jewel of the American crown, that being Watkins Glen, a circuit that was home to the United States Grand Prix from 1961 to 1980, but still houses some of the best sports car championships in the world, including IMSA, not to mention as well the Xfinity from NASCAR as well. Joining me, though, George Morgan, your commentator, is the one, the only Rory Alexander. It's not Nina Jade Paul this time. Somewhat changed as the person next door to me. Rory, how are you doing?
I'm good. Sorry to disappoint you, everybody. Hello, everybody on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Yeah, I'm pleased to be back, to be honest. I've seen what great work you and Nina have done after kicking off the series for round one. And yeah, I'm excited to get back to it here at Watkins Glen, here on ACC for the Ferrari HP Esports series. And yeah, I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, it's fabulous. We've witnessed so much action already, Rory. We came off the back of what has to be a blockbuster in many ways, for various reasons, really. But there was plenty of action in the AC side when we went to Laguna Seca. But it's been a while since you've been with us. Obviously, all the way back. Remember, it was iRacing when you and I last met, Rory. And that was on at Imola, essentially, for the Americas region. But we witnessed some fabulous racing there and then. So far, in the ACC side of things, as far as Europe and Asia Pacific are concerned, both drivers that won races throughout went 3 in a row. Of course, we could yet see 3 from 3, providing 3 in a row again tonight. Will we see that? That's the big question.
I'm not sure. There's some pretty big names in here, and ones, you know, as we saw for the first round at Imola, there are going to be some characters, I'm sure, emerging from the pack. But yeah, here in the Americas region, it's all square. We all start from absolutely nothing. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get a clean sweep of 3 drivers winning 3 races in 3 rounds on ACC. But yeah, they've got a few races ahead of them and a few laps to turn before we find that out tonight.
You never know. We could see yet another Russell Reyes or even maybe an Aidan Walshingham. Let's take you first and foremost, though, through the format structure. 30 participants coming in from hot laps and regional qualifiers. Then heading into rounds 1 and rounds 2, where they'll meet 3 races, 3 15-minute races with 1 7-minute qualifying session to decide the grid for the first race, with the top 5 after the close of play after the 2 rounds. From each region, the top 5 will head to the Ferrari HP Esports Series of 2024, the grand finals being housed at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi on the 5th of December. Just a reminder, 1 from AC, top 2 from iRacing, and also from ACC alike. So that's the format that we have got. Obviously, we're going to be in for a real treat. Plenty more to come, of course. This actually takes us through to the halfway point of the season proper before we head into our next string of races, and we do it all over again. Of course, we've got 3 big regions that are going to take us through. But first and foremost, let's take you through the race format for tonight. Race 1, the grid will be decided by that 7-minute qualifying session, with race 2 being set up with the grid set by race 1's result. And then race 3, in similar practice, though, it'll be race 2's result that decide that grid heading through. Of course, remember, top 6 going into the grand final, 2 from each region. It's going to be a scintillating championship with many, well, certainly many opportunities up for grabs, especially around the Watkins Glen circuit, that's for sure. Plenty of variation as far as curbing's concerned, not to mention the elevation changes and also the cornering in itself, slow, mid, fast speed corners alike. And we've already seen some fantastic races. Like I said, we already saw Aidan Walshingham going 3 from 3. And not only that, Russell Reyes also managing to do the same. But we have got such a high quality grid looking to take to the circuit tonight. One thing we can always say, Rory, is that with this sharp, short format that we have here, it does expose, should we say, some of the drivers, some who might prefer the endurance side, maybe not so well on the sprint side.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely, you know, there's no holes barred here. You've got to get out the blocks early. I mean, the fact that the qualifying for race 1 just sets the tone for the evening for these drivers. We saw a couple of going back to round 1 again, we saw a couple of guys with really high I ratings getting it wrong in quali before race 1 and then getting stuck with issues, stuck in the pack, and then it just ruined their entire evening. And essentially, because we've only got 2 shots at this in each game for each of these guys who are in these individual regions, it can really jeopardize their entire series just by getting it wrong in quali.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. Let's take you through the regions that are going to be taking part in this championship. We've already concluded ACC in Europe and also at Asia Pacific. Already concluding those races here at Watkins Glen, but we're going racing here tonight for the Americas region. Plenty of names that are coming up from the Americas taking part here tonight that have done well in the past. Ruby Necamata, one of them as well, not to mention Renato Dornelles. What about Fidel Moreira, Ricardo Rivera, as well alike as Skylar Lovrink. Plenty of names that are going to be challenging up at the front, and plenty of names that also performed very well in prior events, obviously in the regional qualifiers to get here as well. Here is the calendar. Of course, we've already ticked off Imola. We've ticked off near enough Watkins Glen. This is the final round 6 of the Watkins Glen series of races. We will, of course, be heading to Laguna Seca for the Americas region as well, after already concluding the first 2 rounds of Laguna Seca, round 7 and round 8, already completed earlier this week. We then head into round 10. The halfway point has been met at Summit Point on iRacing, 30th of September, where we'll bring you Asian Pacific action as well as European action that same day. And then the 5th of October for the Americas region for round 12. Silverstone, the Earl Grey of World Motorsport, returns here on Assetto Corsa Competizione, round 13, 14 and 15. Kicking things off with Asia Pacific on the 2nd of October, then followed on the same day by European action, and then Americas on the 12th of October for round 15. And then Nürburgring, the final frontier, where Asian Pacific and European go racing on the 4th of October on Assetto Corsa. That's round 16 and 17, and then round 18 to finish it all off as far as the regional qualifiers or regional finals are concerned. America's region taking to the track on October 19th. Then we will have our grid decided for when we head to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. So plenty up for grabs. Let's take you through the track map, though. Of course, Watkins Glen, we said before, the prior home of the United States Grand Prix all the way back in 1961 to 1980. 3.377 miles. That's 5.435 kilometers. 6 to 10 degree banking on certain corners as well alike. And born out of the imagination of Cornell University law student Cameron Artsinger proposing a Watkins Glen Grand Prix. Well, he certainly got it. Nowadays, we have seen IndyCar take part here back in 1979 to 2017. That was known as the Grand Prix at the Glen. Of course, it is no more, but still, those fabled stories will remain. GT World Challenge also racing here up to 2022. It all started for them back in 92. But nowadays, we see IMSA with its 6 hours of Watkins Glen, and NASCAR's Go Bowling at the Glen, with Xfinity's Mission 200 at the Glen still very much taken part here. And just to look at this wonderful looking layout, we have indeed a vastly open circuit. Of course, you do have your barriers thrown in between, but the setting of this track is truly second to none. Of course, originally, races would have been held in the main portion of the village, racing through the streets. When, of course, the Cornell University law student Cameron Artsinger came up with the idea, the premise of running a race, a Grand Prix in Watkins Glen. They would eventually, though, send it up to a hilltop in the woodland, and that is where it currently situates. And still racing very much at the heart of this area in itself, attracts millions and, well, hundreds of thousands, millions of fans from across the globe. And we get to witness it even in sim racing as well alike. And is also the home now of the Ferrari HP Esports series as we decide the drivers that will be heading to Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. Almost poetic, isn't it, Rory?
Oh, well, I mean, I was just listening to you there, George. You just had me the whole lot, selling the whole thing to us, I think. What a setting, as you say. You know, Watkins Glen, the Glen as we all call it. It's just such an amazing, amazing track. You know, you've got turn one. You've got to chuck it in there, but you can't go too wide. You've got the run through the S's, and then, of course, up to the inner loop, or the bus stop, as we all know it as. You've got to be careful at turn 7 for toe. Can't get on the power too early there, and it's just wonderful. Just with those iconic fences that sort of bow in, that encase you in the straights. I mean, this is one of my absolute favourites, and I know lots and lots of the guys' favourites at home.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. We've got many great names, of course, taking part here tonight. Some of the names that we can pick up, of course, Skylar Lovrink, I was looking at, actually won at Kyle Army in GT3 League action in Pro Class earlier in August. Also is a photographer and videographer, and also a huge baseball fan alike. They're going to be hoping to hit one out of the park here tonight. We'll wait and see whether they can do that and go for a home run of 3 consecutive race wins. Who knows? He could be the man to do it. But what about Carter Bez Borodoka? My pronunciations will improve, folks at home. Winner at Snetterton fairly recently, actually, in the NWS GT Sprint Series back in August as well. Last time out in silver class, and P7 currently in that championship as well. But so many names here as we now take a look at Nicholas Alvarado taking to the track. 7 minutes of qualifying ahead of us, folks, to decide the grid for race 1. A very short fire qualifying session, which of course requires the drivers to be on point from the very get-go, and everything needs to be right, from getting your tyres up to the temperature, for ensuring that you manage your apex as well. You need absolutely everything on your side to be competitive here, Rory.
Absolutely. And just to confirm again, I'm sure you've said it in every round so far, but we're doing F1 scoring applies here. So you've got to get in the top 10 to score points. 25 points for first, 18 for second, 15 for third, all the way down for a single point for 10th. And with 30 cars, I believe, who are on this track today, it's going to be a busy one. You know, you're going to have to absolutely go for it, especially with that format that we spoke about earlier. You've only got 7 minutes to absolutely nail it. Manage all the traffic around this shorter circuit with all these cars, because essentially race 1 is your qualifying for race 2, and race 2 is qualifying for race 3. And then you've only got one more shot at Silverstone on the 12th of October, I believe, to either continue your form or rescue your season. So yes, this is a very, very important time, George.
Yeah, definitely is that. Already we're seeing the drivers make their way around the circuit. Obviously, we're following Nicholas Alvarado right now. Of course, based in Buenos Aires in Argentina, was a runner-up at Silverstone in the NWS GT3 Sprint Series in 2022 Gold Class. So is proven as far as GT3 category racing is concerned, and is hoping that he can unleash the power of this fabled Ferrari 296 V6 engine. Of course, greater in fuel efficiency than its predecessor, the 488, but we did get to see the phenomenal 488s in action on AC back at Laguna Seca in AC as well alike. So great to see the still the heritage of Ferrari burning bright, as it always does. Fidel Moreira also heading up through the S's, and will send it up the back straight now in towards the inner loop in hopes of registering a very fast opening time. Moreira, of course, alike also housing a fairly feisty CV to his name. The Brazilian 25-year-old, who is considered a professional esports driver, competing in the GT World Challenge Intercontinental GT Challenge Endurance Series, was a runner-up in the Spa 24-hour in silver class, and also a runner-up in the SRO Americas of 2023. One day he'll win, Rory.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one person as well. I mean, we're picking out names here. One other person, of course, I've got to shout out one of my guys that I know before, Angel Inostroza, former GT7 world finalist. So another high pedigree driver here. I mean, it just goes to show how strong the field is here, George. I mean, it's just absolutely insane how good these drivers are, and I'm just super excited to see. We've got 3 minutes left of quali to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, well, Nicholas Alvarado still holds the fastest time. So the man from Buenos Aires is still holding his own up at the front. We've still got plenty of cars that have yet to unleash their times on the board. Incidentally, you speak about Angel Istarosa, actually drove around the Nürburgring in real life in 2022, and was also part of the Olympic Esports Series in 2023. So the Chilean does have some repertoire behind him. Here comes Fidel Moreira, goes 4th fastest, and just look at that, the top 5, in fact top 6, all within half a second. Absolutely phenomenal. And Instarosa, incidentally, as you so rightly said, with all the credentials he has beneath him, 2nd fastest for now, and he's within half a tenth.
Yeah, and we've still got 9 drivers, or 10 drivers that is, to actually register a time at all. And I think Alves there in 20th will want to get himself a better time as well. So there's still plenty going on here. Looking at about a 1 minute 40 lap, 42.825 is our current pole here. Let's see if Alvarado is going to improve here as he crosses the line. He's going to have time for one more, actually. Oh, he's hit the wall on the way out.
Maybe a little tap there, a slight graze, which obviously isn't going to help. Now, obviously, the concerns that he's going to have is obviously whether he can go again or at least still carry some momentum going in towards turn one. Gabriel Felipe is also another driver to watch. The man from Sao Paulo, also 25 years of age, going fastest with a 1:42.675. Winner at the Nordschleife endurance event back in August as well, and has actually spent a little bit of time with Nico Hulkenberg and also Felipe Massa, so maybe some of that's rubbing off here, Rory.
Yeah, that'll do it for you. That'll give you some tips. We're hanging around with those two. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we've got the top 9 here within a second. You know, 10th, Este just outside a second. So this is how close this is. And I think it's just going to hot up here more and more and more. Let's see what car number 1 can do here. Is he going to get through the final corner safely? Yes, he does. Let's see where he ends up. P6 for him. So, yes, the Brazilian there staying. Oh, no. Hang on. He's gone pole.
Straight to the top. It was slightly delayed coming across the line. The time did eventually come, and it was enough to topple Gabriel Felipe. Of course, Felipe, a fan of the Band of Avenged Sevenfold. And unfortunately for him, Fidel Moreira has become his nightmare and has taken the pole position spot away by 0.04 of a second. That's absolutely sensational. Of course, we allude to Moreira's skills behind the sim racing wheel. He's been a runner-up plenty of times, but maybe this is the time for Fidel Moreira to flex his muscles here in amongst such a hench grid. Here comes Nicolas Alvarado, who spent a great deal of time at the top not too long ago. We did, of course, see him just making a little bit of contact with the wall. No such issue this time, and we'll look to try and go faster once more. But 0.08 outside of the window of Moreira, away from that top time. But just look at that, the top 3 all within that 80 thousandths of a second mark. In fact, make that top 4 as Felipe goes second fastest. Only 7 thousandths off Moreira up at the top, and Dornelas joins the scrap. Top 5 within 0.08. That is bizarre. It's maddening. It's epic and sensational.
Absolutely insane. So close here. But what's critical, as we're watching here, Alvarado got over the line with like 3 seconds left to go. So I think he's going to be the last driver here who's in contention for pole to have a final shot. So if we stay on board with him here as he comes down the chute, let's keep an eye on him and see how he does. Because you can see here the qualifying has finished, but we've got 2.5 minutes left for everyone to finish their laps. And he, yep, looking at the track map there, is going to be the final car to cross the line. So this is going to be fascinating, George, to see if he can find that less than 1/10 he needs to take pole.
Well, we'll soon find out, that's for sure. Nicolas Alvarado, if he can pull something out of the bag late in the day here, it could be the difference maker that allows him to hail his name at the very top. But at the moment, it's Moreira who's pitting at the moment. Alvarado is the only car inside the top 18 that hasn't yet boxed. Needs to make the most of this final run if he has got something in him. Committing to every single curb and apex is imperative should he wish to take pole position away from Fidel Moreira at the very top of the shop as he now comes across the line. 0.08 to the good. He goes third fastest, 27 thousandths away from starting on pole. It wasn't enough on the day. Fidel Moreira starts on pole position for race 1 in the Ferrari HP Esports Series Americas at Watkins Glen.
Insane. I mean, 5 drivers within 1/10, but the top 4 within 0.5 or just outside.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy. Around a 1:40 lap, you know, you do not expect that close a time. It's just absolutely incredible. It goes to show that these guys are getting the absolute most out of these cars here around Watkins Glen.
You really cannot afford to take your eyes off it for 1 single minute. Of course, here at Watkins Glen, you will be punished if you stray too close to the barriers. We did see an example of that, but it was a great effort nonetheless. Obviously from Nicolas Alvarado coming in at the very last minute, trying to obviously upset the balance of the race, but it just simply wasn't to be. But he still has every chance. He, of course, is, like we said, a runner-up at Silverstone in the NWS GT3 Sprint Series last year, or should I say back in 2022, not quite last year. We've had another year since then. Gold class, of course, though that was settled in. But there's still plenty of other danger men as well. Renato Dornelas was right at the top end, and we mentioned about his Nordschleife endurance event being a victor there. Of course, the man who hails from Porto Alegre in Brazil. And, of course, he took a victory in that Nordschleife Endurance event back in August, and even prior to that, used a desktop setup all the way back in 2009 when he first ventured into sim racing. Of course, things have changed a little bit since then. Of course, though, he would start his career in iRacing and R-Factor all the way back in 2009. I mean, what a story to have such a long legacy where it comes to racing in the Sims. And now here at the modern day in 2024, we have come a long way, Rory.
Crazy. It's just absolutely insane how long some of these guys have been at it. I mean, sim racing is growing and growing and growing. I mean, what we're looking at right now is just testament to how far this industry has come. And yeah, I mean, doing it back then is just amazing. But bringing it forward to today, to now, this is going to be incredible. I mean, I cannot wait to see what happens at turn number 1. Is someone going to go bowling at turn number 1? And then how brave is everyone going to be as they enter the bus stop for the first time? Are we going to have guys in the top 5 who are going to want to just be looking to keep, stay clean and get that good result and get their evening off to a good start? And you can have guys who didn't do so well in quali and in the mid pack just absolutely going for it. I think we're going to get fireworks in this one, George.
We could well do. I mean, we could get some of the cream from GT, of course, Gran Turismo, of course, being Angel Instroza, who is, of course, a driver that was a runner-up as well in Nations Cup action back in 2022. Also competing in the GT World Challenge Intercontinental GT Challenge Endurance Series earlier this year. Finished P5 in silver class in the Spa 24-hour as well. But obviously, that is endurance racing in the sim. This is sprint racing in the sim. 3 15-minute races to bring you, ladies and gentlemen. The Ferrari 296 GT3 back on show once more, and will very shortly crown a new winner. The big question is, who's it going to be? Fidel Moreira starting at the front alongside Gabriel Felipe. He'll be looking to get the run in towards turn 1. The 90 is quite tense. On the run down to that, it's fairly fast, but at the same time, you can't afford to run over too close or too far, because you will lay astray and allow the door to be wide open to the drivers behind you. Of course, we have got Nicolas Alvarado, not to mention Renato Dornelles, sat in that top 4 place as well. Inestrosa, no doubt, is going to also be challenging for top-end glory as they put pedal to the metal. And it is go, 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 go. Moreira and Felipe heading down in towards turn 1. The question is, who's going to come out on top in this fight? Still Felipe trying to challenge. Moreira will have the inside tiger line as they now stream up the hill and, well, certainly pair their way through the S's section. Nicolas Alvarado as well coming into the fight, could yet pinch second place again from Gabriel Felipe as they now charge up the hill through towards the inner and outer loop. There we see them side by side. Alvarado getting an incredible run, very nearly in a position to take victory, or certainly the lead to victory, but is unable to do it, with Felipe now stranded in 3rd.
That's exactly what he would have wanted. And also, it's sending a message coming down into the bus stop for the first time. Is it going to be, I mean, what are we working with this evening? That is what the top 2, top 3 guys are going to be thinking. What's the leader like? What's the cars around me like? How aggressive are they? I mean, but to be honest, it's been job done so far for P1. And I'm quite amazed, to be honest, that we've only got 1 car in the pits and 1 car at the back, a little bit off the entire pack. Everybody has made it through. I was expecting fireworks.
Renato Dornelles, we're hoping there won't be any fireworks from Inestrosa in behind, who has a little look up his inside. Of course, they'll be coming through the technical 2nd sector and then venture in towards sector 3. But first and foremost, they need to head through the toe section at turn 7, through the boot, which is that semi-straight leading towards the heel at turn 8 as well, alike. And then shortly heading out of turn 9 towards turns 10 and then through towards turns 11, which they are heading through around now. It's still Fidel Moreira at the top of your screen, sat in the lead ahead of Nicolas Alvarado, who certainly showed a lot of promise in qualifying, as we now see some moves happening further back. Ricardo Rivera watching it all unfold as well, just tapping Doran in front of him. Inestrosa threatening all over the back of Dornelles, as well as they now cruise through up the hill and are about to take the S's section. And look at this, Rivera's in under pressure because here comes Loverink as well. We've got battle strewn across the circuit. As Inestrosa put himself in a position to also challenge Dornelles? I think he has. He's into 4th, I think, at the moment. moment, Dornelles, but will Inestrosa make it round the outside? Not quite. Looks to flash all over the rear. Dornelles, though, will hold on to fourth, but Inestrosa is testing him every which way coming out of the first sector.
Yeah, everyone's kind of got through that first lap now and sort of taken a sigh of relief almost and been like, right, I've got through the first lap. Now it's time to push. And you're seeing that with Inestrosa all over the back of P4 there. And he's going to want to get that move done because you can see behind him, look at that long train of cars. There's almost a truly train starting early doors here. The top three are off. They're gone. So these guys are going to be battling for that fourth place. But they've also got to be so careful because only the top 10 get points. And it settles the whole scene, or sets the whole scene, I should say, sorry, for the rest of their races. So do they go for points now and risk it, or do they play the long game? It's going to be fascinating to find out.
It definitely will be. There's a few gaps getting closer as well. Further down, Mateus Alves also chasing after Louis Velez in that battle over P11. He was within 1.5 tenths as they crossed the timing line earlier on, but they're now rounding the final corner at turn 11. This time around to begin yet another lap, and it will be lap 3 with Fidel Moreira still at the top and carrying on with the fastest lap so far and crossing the start-finish line. He was nearly a whole second ahead of Nicolas Alvarado as we watch Zach Doran now look to head uphill, chasing after Angel Inestrosa, who is still once again pressing Renato Dornelles as they continue to fight over that fourth place. Dornelles unfortunately 1.6 behind, so he's not going to benefit off any slipstream, so a great opportunity for Inestrosa, though he does have Doran flashing all over the back of his rear spoiler on his Ferrari 296. They're settling down now, Rory. Obviously nowhere near the chaos that we had at the very start of the race, so just getting into, shall we say, a nice even keel, and they'll look to persevere like this, I'd imagine, towards the end of the race, but naturally they're all going to want to press for those high positions to bask in the points because they need them for the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it's okay at the moment, but I think, you know, things are going to start hotting up. We've still got 10 minutes left of this race, and I mean, Inestrosa's in such probably in the toughest position on the entire track at the moment. You know, he's being held up, I feel, and I think it's pretty fair to say, by car 3 there, by Dornelles. But he's got to have his eyes forward, and he's got to have his eyes back in his rear view because he's got Doran right behind him. So, you know, he's going to want to get that move done. And knowing the driver like I do, he won't wait too much longer, or he won't be able to wait too much longer to make that move. So I'm looking down into maybe turn number 1 or coming up the hill into the bus stop. I mean, they're the two places really where you're going to make the move. But let's see what he does. He's really, really close here as we cross the line to start this next lap.
Yeah, it's really it's a chicken and egg scenario, isn't it? Because I mean, if Inestrosa does obviously wait behind Dornelles and just covers off, obviously appreciating the fact that Felipe has cruised onwards now to beyond 2 seconds of Dornelles. Obviously Dornelles a sitting duck as it stands. Inestrosa will of course have slipstream, which he could use to defend against Zach Doran, but whilst waiting behind Dornelles, it does somewhat hold him up still. So one mistake and Inestrosa could yet be punished by Doran in behind, and not to mention the long list of drivers that are waiting in the wings in behind, the likes of Rivera, Loverink, Oliveira, you know, drivers who are very prudent and know how to make these big moves, as we just see running a little bit wide. I think that was Rivera, incidentally, just getting it slightly wide there. But at the same time, you know, you need to be, you know, a little bit methodical where it comes to making these decisions, as we now take a look as Orlando Lara goes on the attack with I think that might be Yamamoto just in front of him, Nekamata just in behind, also looking to cruise up. But Orlando Lara now sat up in 14th place as it stands. Of course, our timing screen hasn't yet updated on the left-hand side. You'll see it now. Antonello down in 15th. So Yamamoto has moved up into 13th place. So Lara and Yamamoto gaining some extra places, but they're still some ways off points because remember, the top 10 are the only positions that pay out points.
Yeah, I mean, now that he's got that pass made, he should be looking to push on a little bit, but it doesn't look like he's managing to pull away, and he's going to come back under pressure here. But these guys also need to keep it clean. They won't know this, or, you know, I mean, the more astute of them may well know this, that the guys from 4th down to wherever it is are in that big long train, and there could be issues. I mean, as we see a move, is that going to be a move down into turn number 1? I think it may well be. We're going to have double moves here, George.
Yeah, we certainly will. Oh, contact! Goodness me, Orlando Lara coming together. I think that was with Yamamoto over 13th spot, and further back, Antonello also in the midst of his very own dogfight as they now stream uphill. Ruby, Neko Marta, part of this one alike as they now burst up through the S's. Jose Este also in the midst of this scrap too, so there is quite the diciness happening out on track. Further down, we also see Jose Este coming into this, as well as Antonello, as they scream through the inner loop and then through the outer loop once more. But Neko Marta now in 15th and chasing Antonello, who's cruised through into 14th.
Yeah, sending a message there. I mean, I don't know if the stewards will look at that afterwards. I'm just looking here to see if there's an accident involving number coming up here. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll let you guys know. But yeah, here we go. Angel here is, you know, he's feeling the pressure now. He's feeling the pressure from Doran as these minutes tick away. We've got just over about 6.5 minutes now. Yeah, there's going to be some things going on here. I cannot wait to see what happens and who comes out on top here. Who's going to take that 4th place?
That is the big question. Dornella is doing a fantastic job of just keeping everyone behind. But then again, I don't think Inestrosa's really gone for anything just yet. He's just being patient. He has got Zach Doran still pressing him in behind. You just see them, they're so closely wrapped together as they head down through towards turn 1, and they could yet be gained upon by Oliveira down in 9th. Vinny Oliveira is bringing along his own train of cars that include Hamza Golzar and Louis Velez running on wide. They're just further back at the end of the train that's being led through. As we seen, I think Yamamoto's had an issue because he's dropping down through the field behind Jose Este. As we now watch Inestrosa once again coming uphill. He's being pressurized here by Zach Doran this time around, and this is what we were talking about. Obviously waiting patiently in behind Dornelles is one thing, but now he's got to obviously try and hold position ahead of Zach Doran, who is bound to want to go for the move because he knows that he can still get slipstream off Dornelles in 4th place.
Yeah, and as they get to battle there, they're taking suboptimal lines here. I mean, Inestrosa's having to go defensive into the bus stop. I mean, that's not the way you want to be taking that corner. Obviously, you want to be making that angle as little as possible, and that's going to give Dornelles an opportunity to go away a little bit and pull out. You can see he's got a couple of car lengths here as the guys behind him battle, so he's going to be looking in his rear view thinking, please continue to battle, so that I can get a bit of breathing space here and run away, because now it looks like the main battle here is Inestrosa with Doran. But do these guys work together? I mean, these are the things that you need to think about. I know it's a shorter race here. We've still got just under 5 minutes left. But I would be thinking, let's not go for Inestrosa at this point. Let's see if he can get him to make a move on Dornelles and then take advantage of the pair of them, because that could be the key to P4 for Doran.
Well, you never know. I mean, one of those could make a mistake, and therefore it opens the door for Zach Doran, and not to mention Ricardo Rivera, as well as Skylar Loverink. But we'll wait and see what they decide to do. I mean, what Zach Doran really needs to do is ensure the move will be able to be made before really plumbing for it, as we take a look as the cars now strive uphill through the S section, and then we'll take the back straight before then meeting in a loop once more. 4 minutes and 10 still to go. Inestrosa now making his way, marching up the hill, but still being pursued by the likes of Zach Doran. But Dornelles might be in trouble here. Inestrosa gaining a lot of time in the first sector, just could not quite make the move. But I think, again, being patient, Rory, waiting for the moment to strike, might choose to do it as the timer ticks down and we have 1 lap remaining, just so he can consolidate the position.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very calculated driver. You know, you're not at this level. You know, you can't lose and they don't lose their head at this level. They know exactly what they're doing. So will he, I mean, is he waiting till the last moment? I mean, or will he just bag the points, to be honest with you? It's clear that he's a lot stronger than Dornelles through the first sector. He's on him at the bus stop every single time. But yeah, I'm just fascinated to see, is he going to hold station and just take that 5th place and live to fight another day? Or is he going to try to go around the outside of the bus stop? Because that's what you're going to have to do to get this move done here. I don't think he's going to have an opportunity to do it anywhere else.
No, and don't forget as well, you've got the chute coming down in towards turn 6, so there might be an opportunity for a driver to bounce back heading into what is categorized as a slow speed corner. So it's generally the slow speed corners you know, in racing generally, that you can go late on the brakes and challenge. We'll wait and see whether that is the case. Heading down in towards turn 1 again. Alvarado incidentally picking up the fastest lap, so pinching it off Moreira as we watch Nostroza just running out slightly wide coming out of turn 1, but nothing to necessarily be concerned about. Still chasing after Dornelles, and no doubt we'll get a nice run heading up the hill out of the S's on the back straight. Zach Doran just again waiting in the wings, hailing from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the United States, as they now charge uphill, heading in towards the next right and left, coming into the chicanes, and then outwards again, and in towards the outer loop again. A progressive corner. You just see that Doran just getting closer and closer. Nostroza not very effective coming out of that section, and instead might get himself served on a plate for Zach Doran, who will have no concerns in attempting to make the move.
Yeah, just ran a bit wide there coming through the outer loop, probably because it's really quite difficult to follow through the bus stop there. I mean, it's difficult to say so close because there's a good chance, well, certainly at our level anyway, George, that you just run straight into the back of them, and I'm sure it's the same at this level as well. The margin for error is just so small, and in avoiding the back of Dornelles and just giving that little bit of an opportunity to Doran, I mean, it's just Nostroza again. It just emphasises what a difficult spot he is in.
Well, it's actually good defensive driving as well on Dornelles' part, I think, at this point, because he's obviously just feeding Nostroza to Doran at this stage, just allowing him to attack and pinch all over the back of Nostroza and just giving him a few things to think about, because that's exactly what Dornelles needs to do. It's not as if he has got slipstream on any cars ahead. There's a near 3.5 second gap between he and P3, so he may as well consolidate the fourth, take the 12 points, and hope that he does well then in the remaining races, because of course we still have 2 more races to come where they could yet get 25 points of their own, which certainly looks like 25 points is going to be heading the way of Fidel Moreira should he keep this up, because it's 1.4 seconds between he and Alvarado. They charge uphill again, and here comes Nostroza, still being pursued though by Doran. Fairly equal gaps in between those three as they now peel through the chicanes once more through the outer loop. Rivera now just dropping back ever so slightly. I think Doran getting a better run heading after Nostroza than Rivera in that case, and Loverink as well, part of this group, also just forming up in behind these runners as they now come through the middle sector. The timer now ticking to the final 10 seconds. What are they thinking, Rory?
Oh, I don't know. I think Moreira is probably thinking, I've got this in the bag. But these guys, I mean, you saw Nostroza, they got a little bit loose there on the exit, coming through toe, and the run down to the boot towards heel here. Let's see if Doran goes for it. No, it doesn't look like he's going to go for it at this point, and I think he's going to run out of time here. I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything. But Moreira, again, has been super quiet. There he is, the top 3 there. Been quite easy going for him, dare I say. And it looks like he's going to take this one home, George.
Yeah, runner-up at the Spa 24-hour in silver class. Runner-up in the SRO Americas of 2023, but he's a winner here tonight in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. It's Fidel Moreira. He wins the opening race here in the Americas region at Watkins Glen in the Ferrari HP Esports Series, getting his night off to the perfect start. And he'll now be seeking, I'm sure, a further 50 points in our remaining races. Will this be another 75-point affair, or will this driver not make it through the same fashion as what we've seen in Europe or Asia Pacific? A great drive, though, nonetheless, from Moreira, finishing ahead of Nicolas Alvarado, who came in second. Gabriel Felipe closing out third place. Dornelles doing enough to keep Nostroza at bay, Rory.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great drive there for Moreira, but Alvarado just snuck in there. I don't know if you saw with the purple lap time there at the end. Maybe just sending a little message there and a little bit of a teaser for us that this may not go all Moreira's way tonight. I mean, let's see what happened. A fantastic driving throughout the whole field. I thought there'd be skittles coming into the bus stop, coming into turn number 1. Everyone was incredibly well behaved. Really good driving here. But let's see. There's only 2 more opportunities now for these guys to get the best points possible on the board for the rest of their championship. So everybody may not be so, what shall I say? Accommodating.
Courteous.
There we go. Accommodating for the future races.
Absolutely right. Well, let's have a look at the standings after that last race. Fidel Moreira sitting pretty on 25 points after race 1. Nicolas Alvarado in second on 18 points. Gabriel Felipe on 15 points in third. Renato Dornelles on 12 points in fourth. Angel Inestrosa on 10 points in fifth place. Zach Doran 8.6 with Ricardo Rivera on 6 points in 7th. Skylar Loverink in 8th place with 4 points. We'll take you through then from P9 downwards. Hamza Gulzar on 2 points with Vinny Oliveira on 10th with 1 solitary point. Alex Da Costa, Andrew Rados, as well as Koa Dromo, as well as Mateus Alves, Devon Dunson and Carter Borodka, obviously all on 0 points for now. And that is your current top 16 as they stand. But we have got plenty more to bring you, folks. 2 more races to come, 2 50-minute races to be exact. Obviously now a chance for the drivers to reassess here. Rory, what's the plan? Do you make setup changes? Do you reconsider, rethink your ideas? Obviously, race 2 might be treated a little differently. Maybe, put the foot on the gas a little bit more. Relinquish some of that passiveness. Maybe some of them will go on the attack.
Well, this is the fascinating thing here in the Ferrari HP Esports. It's just... it really does depend, like, where you are. Moreira will be looking to just repeat, but then you've got guys who are down the back. Inestrosa is going to be, well, I don't think he'll be best impressed that he couldn't get past and get that P4. But then, you've got Zach Duran, who was looking like he was pretty racy at one point as well, so I expect a bit more from him. And to be honest, it was quite quiet. We didn't see too much of the rest of the field. So, because we were concentrating on that battle for P4. So, will there be somebody who rises through the ranks around this difficult track to overtake we're seeing for race number 2 and 3?
Well, we'll soon find out. It's obviously the good thing as far as Fidel Moreira is concerned. This is the victory. So, essentially, maybe putting some of those nerves to bed, Rory. He might come out at race 2 full of bountiful confidence. And especially given the fact we've got 2 races remaining. He's going to be a severe threat, I think, to every driver on the grid, given the fact that he has already won. He's a proven contender. He can pretty much just put his foot down and just focus on what's ahead of him.
Yeah, but there were a couple of things for me there that I've seen. Is if we go back to the start, he almost lost the lead. It was so close on that jump, and he didn't have the fastest lap in that last race. So he needs to get that jump right. I know, if you win the race and you think, oh, actually, no, I didn't get, whilst I was the fastest to finish the race, I wasn't the fastest in the race. That's definitely going to be playing on his mind a little bit. Let's see. I keep saying let's see, and I'm super excited to see exactly what happens in this next race. And it's like a game of chess out there, but at a super high level, at a level like most of us couldn't even comprehend. And it's fascinating because not many foots wrong happened, if that's the phrase. Not many people put their foot wrong in that race. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Not even in that final sector where the foot is paramount when you consider the toe, the boot, the heel. There we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody. Who's going to get laced? Who's going to get laced up though, Rory? That's the big question.
We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see who's tied their laces together, shall we? And who trips up heading through turn 1.
Yeah, stop it.
Sorry. But yeah, we have got a fantastic group of drivers that will be taken to the grid once more. There's obviously going to be some drivers I think to watch. I think Zach Doran's pace looked pretty strong. I think he could yet come into this one. Gave Inestrosa a few headaches from time to time. It definitely looked like Inestrosa had to pull out the defensive moves a little bit just to prevent anything happening. Do you think that Doran's going to give him further headaches going into race 2?
Yeah, certainly. And I saw Rivera in there showing signs that he wanted to get a move on as well. So of course, the results of the race we've just seen set the grid for this race that's upcoming. So we should really get exactly the same thing. But as you mentioned, is Duran going to be that patient this time? Is Inestrosa going to be that patient this time? He's going to want to get that move down into turn number 1 done, or at least into the bus stop. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people's behaviour changes. They've got a good few points on the board now. They know they're quick. Let's see if they consolidate what they're doing or they push on. It's going to be fascinating to see.
Yeah, of course, Zach Doran, a big fan of, obviously, of sim racing in itself, and of course in his home town of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. He is, of course, at home, you know, given their fabled ice hockey team that has been successful in the past, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's see if Zach Doran can dig deep and perhaps replicate what the Penguins have done in the past in terms of Stanley Cup action. But obviously looking ahead, Doran, being the fact that he is, you know, been a runner-up in his own right in events that are generally over 6 hours when we factor in the Nürburgring and Bathurst, that equally as well being SRO community events. So comes in and cut from a similar cloth to Fidel Moreira, but maybe not to the same level as such. But there's definitely some pace there that definitely does allude to the fact that he could be a threat to Fidel Moreira as we make our way forward. Raced in the SRO Americas Championship as well, very similar to Moreira back in 2023. We'll have to wait and see whether he, though, can bring his car to the top. But plenty of other ones to watch out for as well that probably didn't give their best. I still think Gabriel Felipe is a huge threat. And when we reel off this CV, Rory, that he has got, it's unbelievable. Of course, taking part in the 24-hour of Spa at Francorchamps, also winning that one back in 2021. If he can get it right over a shorter distance, he could be a huge threat to Moreira.
Yeah, and he almost did it. He almost did it. So again, it's just going to come down into that first corner. You know, are they going to get the jump? It's, you know, unlike iRacing that we've seen before, the leader doesn't set the pace of the race in AC. Set the pace of the start on ACC. You've got to stay within your box. You've got to make sure and all the guys will be at the front of their box as they go through the rolling start. And then it's just a case of a jump. With iRacing, because you're not ghosting into each other and all that sort of stuff, ghosting out the way of each other. You know, if you hit someone at the start of an iRacing race before it goes wrong, and I've been guilty of that myself, before it goes live, you know, it allows people to get the jump, as we saw and as we have seen from the pole sitter pretty much every single time. But here, it's almost like you're going against air, to be honest with you. So it'll be interesting to see if he can get it right down into turn number one this time. He so almost did it last time out. So that's where my eyes will be at the start of this one.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, folks, if you want to get involved in all the action, you can, of course, take part 2 in a way, because we've got the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap competition currently in full flow as well. And if you want to get involved, there is a website link you can go to. Be sure to check it out, and you can then enter your own times into the leaderboard in a hope of qualifying as the wildcard entry to the grand final on the 5th of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. And we also have standalone weekly competition events through the Hot Lap Challenge as well, alike, where the winners can also win a Ferrari wheel add-on as well. Of course, brought to you, as we said, by Thrustmaster and Thrustmaster Community Cup, of course, being the name of the competition. So be sure to get involved. It's a fantastic competition, and will, of course, give you a chance if you did not compete in the regional qualifiers or did not get through the regional qualifiers phase. But we're going to be in for a treat. We've got 2 more 15 minutes to bring you of racing, and we'll soon see as to who's going to hit the heights. Fidel Moreira will be starting on the front row. Remember the results of our previous grid deciding the grid for race 2. Fidel Moreira will be starting on the front row. Nicolas Alvarado alongside him. Gabriel Felipe, Renato Dornelles starting on the second row with Angel Inestrosa and Zach Doran further back. Ricardo Rivera, Skylar Loverink, then with Hamza Golzar and Vinny Oliveira, Louis Velez, as well as Mateus Alves, Orlando Lara, Ruby Neko Mata, as well as Lisandro Antonello, as well as Jose Este, as well, starting alongside Josu Gutierrez, Bruno Yamamoto with Santiago Barrios, Casey Harding with Nicholas Di Bernardo further down, and then further towards the back, Devin Dunson and Luis Amaral. 23 drivers line up ahead of race 2. It's going to be a tremendous battle, a tremendous fight, but the big question on everyone's mind, will it be Fidel Moreira celebrating 2 from 2? And
also, who's going to get P4? That's also what everyone, especially. I mean, it feels like the last race was almost. There's unfinished business, isn't there, with these guys? It was all behind Dornelles. I mean, is Inestrosa going to make the move? Is Doran going to make the move on both of them? Is Rivera going to chuck a cheeky one up the inside of Doran? Who knows? We're about to find out. It's going to be fascinating.
It certainly will. There are your cars situated, getting set, ready to go racing once again. 15 minutes on the clock, and it'll start ticking once we cross the timing line. Fidel Moreira featured here on the near side. We've got Nicholas Alvarado then over the far side in the yellow Ferrari 296. Will he challenge? Will he get alongside enough to make his way through turn 1 at the 90 to take the eventual lead? Of course, it was Moreira who managed to plumb for that lead advantage in our last race. Gabriel Felipe, unfortunately, losing out, as did Alvarado to a certain degree, as they now cruise down towards the start-finish line. Get yourselves ready, folks. Popcorn in hand, as now the front two take the streams of cars across the line. Green flags being waved, and it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. And a great start from Alvarado. That will surely challenge Moreira for the lead of the race, and yes, he will. Alvarado at the very front. We've got a car running off wide. That's another yellow 296 that's come together as well. Dornelles, unfortunately, coming a cropper, but has managed to come back on track and is being immediately challenged by Angel Inestrosa further back, as well as Zach Doran. The fight from race 1 resumes in race 2, and now Dornelles suffering a little bit of contact in behind as Inestrosa tries to catch him napping, heading up the back straight. But this time Dornelles able to hang on as he did before and remains in 4th place, with now Inestrosa waiting in the wings in 5th, still being pursued by Zach Doran.
Well, I tell you what, there, same again. We're going to get exactly the same again for P4, but what we didn't get the same again was the lead of the race. Let's go, Alvarado, round the outside into turn number 1, making the move count when he knew he needed to. Now, what has Moreira got? And what's Felipe got as well? I mean, this is a completely, while it's the same front 3, it's a completely different race. And look, he's not wanting to stay in P2. And with these guys battling, it's going to bring Dornelles and everybody else into play. So now we're going to have like an 8-car battle for P1. This is fantastic.
Yeah, great to be back here on the Ferrari 296 GT3, the 2.9-litre V6 engine, really giving us a show here around Watkins Glen. And the star of the show right now is Nicholas Alvarado. He's put in a hellacious stint so far after that blistering start, getting the getaway of dreams and managing to challenge Fidel Moreira for that lead spot. He'll be hoping that he can continue to persevere and land the big blows up at the front as they now cross the timing line here this time around. And head in towards the 90 at turn 1. Gabriel Felipe forced to wait behind as well, looking to cruise around in a bid to bring home a 2nd podium in a row. But Dornelles a lot closer this time than he was before. And aside from worrying what's going on behind him, he can have a go at perhaps worrying about what's in front of him. And I tell you who else is doing that is Gabriel Felipe, who is going to look to get the charge here on Fidel Moreira. Fidel Moreira breaking out to the aero slightly from Alvarado in front just to go defensive, heading up the back straight, and took a lot of the grass as well coming in towards the outer loop, which I don't think has unsettled him too much, but he can't afford to make risky mistakes, Rory.
Yeah, the concertina effect is happening behind as well. So as Felipe challenges Moreira and doesn't get that done, Dornelles, who was on the defensive for the last race, is now on the offensive. He's going to be looking to actually go up a place into the podium positions. Then you've got the usual suspects of Inestrosa, Doran, Rivera. I mean, all these guys are getting stuck in as we look as a battle further down the field.
Yeah, we've got a big scrap happening here. We're watching Orlando Lara actually forfeits a couple of places. Gutierrez has gone forward. In fact, so is a sea of cars. In fact, Orlando Lara is having a nightmare out there and is being cruised on by the likes of Alves, Dunson, Barrios, Harding, also having a look up the inside as well, alike Yamamoto, also part of this. It looks like Lara, I think, has some severe issues, and there's visible damage on that car as well, Rory.
Yeah, that Ferrari has seen better days for sure. That'll be affecting his aero, who won't be able to get that thing turned in. And fair play to him for continuing. Much lesser drivers would just park that thing up in such a short race. But that's what's going on down the back. Let's have a look at what's going on up the front then, as once again Angel Inestrosa is in a familiar position, sandwiched between Dornelles in front and Doran behind. Here we go. This is what's going to happen here, I believe, to Orlando Lara. Let's have a look.
Yeah, it looks like he came through the fast chicanes. Oh, yes, big hit. And that explains the damage on the front as well. Fully committed to that barrier. And that's not something you want to be committed to. Inestrosa in 5th place, trying to chase after Dornelles, still very much tied to the back of the fellow 296. Only this time a yellow 296 sat in front of him. And towing along Zach Doran. Dornelles no way near clear enough, or certainly in comparison to where he was in our previous race. And at the moment, we're still watching Alvarado. I'm just having a look here. Fidel Moreira, where has he gone?
I am looking at the same thing there, George. I cannot see him anywhere. What has happened here? And obviously we're looking at Angel there in 4th, it's showing now. And yes, is he there?
I don't know where Fidel Moreira is. Really bizarre. I think he might have suffered a technical issue, and he's unfortunately found himself outside of the top 3. In fact, disappeared altogether. So unfortunate here for Fidel Moreira, who now is on the cusp of not going back-to-back. And in fact, it will be Alvarado. After managing to consolidate the lead coming out of turn 1, he now leads the way with Felipe now in 2nd place. So Gabriel Felipe 1.2 away from the top. Dornelles in the podium places, and this has thrusted Inestrosa in a compromising position, because this time he may not be as courteous as he was in the previous race, because this time there's a podium on the line and he would very much like to have it as they now cruise through the S's section. Zach Doran as well, just waiting in the wings. The 2 yellow 296s representing in the top 3, belonging to Alvarado and Dornelles. Only this time Dornelles coming under excruciating threat. Here comes Loverink coming in towards the inner sector of the loop, and then heading through towards the outer loop as well, alike cruising through out of turn 5. And we'll head down towards turn 6 at the chute, but he'll be hoping that a top 10 place doesn't go down the chute, with Gulzar, Oliveira and Velez chasing after him.
Yeah, just had that confirmed from Moreira there. He's tumbled down our timing sheets, George, as you've seen, as you'll be able to see there. For you guys at home, he's just disappeared off the timing sheets, or the overall standings completely. But yeah,
about as we watch Skylar Loverink at the moment, and grand display. Of course, we don't see this very often in competitive events, but Skylar Loverink fully endorsing the realism here and bringing together this full-on motion rig, which allows him to feel every little bit of movement that's going on out on the Watkins Glen circuit.
Yeah, hopefully Orlando Lara doesn't have one of those, otherwise it'd be a particularly uncomfortable evening for him. But yeah, that's fascinating, you know. I mean, I know a couple of guys who do like VR and stuff. They actually race at the top level in VR as well. So it's amazing how these different guys from around the world, these top level drivers, as we just see some action on track here, how they just end up getting to where they do with their incredible individual setups.
Yeah, well, Loverink's in trouble here, needs to have full focus. You can see from his actual screen, in fact, the car that's running alongside him. Of course, a huge battle starting to brew between he and Gulzar as they now spread up through towards the inner and outer loop. And he's being challenged by a fellow white Ferrari 296 as well, I believe belonging to Oliveira. But it looks like the Gulzar's done enough, or has he? Because Loverink chucking it up the inside once again, looking to take back the place that he lost. Bidding to move back into 7th. He takes 7th place back. A fantastic move. The audacity of it. Skylar Loverink now moves back up.
Fine work there. You can see him hanging on for dear life there through all of that. I cannot believe how much that thing moves as he slammed on the brakes. But yeah, he's going backwards. The person he's just overtaken is going backwards. He's all at 6s and 7s at the moment. Yeah, not a good couple of corners there.
Yeah, managed to break past Gulzar towards the very end. Now back into P5, I should say. And Rivera down in 7th now at the moment. Of course, Oliveira peppering the back of Rivera's car in a bid to try and take P7 away as we watch Loverink now head down into the final few corners on this lap. 6 minutes and 30 still to go. Still Alvarado out in front. 1.2 now, the gap between he and Gabriel Felipe, which hasn't actually moved all that much. Dornelles now with the fastest lap this time around. So a great display on his part in terms of pace, but it's all well and good as we now see some movements. Goodness me, Inestrosa dropping down the order now as well. So has Inestrosa had an issue here, Rory?
I'm not sure. I was just literally counting the cars there, thinking where is Inestrosa, and then as Doran there puts in the quickest lap of the race, we will get that confirmed exactly what's happened there. We didn't see it on track. I think we might be able to see a replay shortly about what's happened. Let's have a look here.
Well, so what a major moment coming into the inner and outer loop. Getting slightly tongue-tied, heading out to the inner loop in towards the outer loop at turn 5, running very wide, well off the circuit, and forfeiting a bountiful of places. That's never ideal, Rory.
No, he's now running around in 12th place, but crucially, he hasn't actually got any damage. It didn't look like he's got any damage there. He's actually up to 11th now by the looks on our timing screen, so it might not all be over at this point. It was critical. He keeps it out of the he kept it out of the barriers there. He will now be looking to push on and salvage what he can from this race. He's 3.5 seconds, I believe, behind P10. So let's see what he can do in the next 5 minutes. It's going to be a tough ask, but he's a very good driver.
We know what he can do over one lap anyway, and he's got an incredible track record to boot as well. Another moment here coming through the S's section. Oh, wow. This one is not going to be as fortunate as to avoid any barrier contact. That is a massive shame, and that's the number 10 belonging to Mateus Alves, who was unfortunately lost out there. So quite the moment as we now watch the 27 of Louis Velez now make his way down the straight. Of course, currently sitting in 9th spot ahead of Neko Marta. So Inestrosa very shortly will be, hopefully, as far as he's concerned, to close up onto Neko Marta over that 10th place. But with 4 minutes and 20, is he running out of time, Rory?
Yeah, he hasn't put in a blistering lap time there. I mean, to be honest, they're both a second ahead there of P9. So what Inestrosa will be hoping for is that Velez holds up Nekomata enough for him to get involved with both of them, but we'll be keeping an eye on that as we come down here into the bus stop again. And what's critical, actually, as we're at the bus stop, and what's fascinating is we didn't really see anyone crash at the bus stop, the inner loop, last race, but now people are clearly pushing a little bit harder as they're running out of time this evening. Race 2 now, people are beginning to push, and that's what we said sort of before in the pre-race. Like, people, they've got individual circumstances, individual situations. People are now needing to push a little bit more, and we're seeing more mistakes from drivers who you would not expect to be making those sorts of mistakes.
Yeah, we certainly are. Skylar Loverink also in the midst of an iconic battle once more, this time still with Hamza Golza. Those two have gone side by side consistently throughout the race. There's a car parked just on the inside. Now, I'm not quite sure who that is, but I'm sure we'll see whoever it does belong to toppling down the order very shortly. Incidentally enough, Fidel Moreira is back in the session, but albeit down in the bottom, down in P22. If you have a look at the timing screen, he's actually sat in the pits, as is Yamamoto. But great to see him back in the session nonetheless, and we will see him, of course, come back for race 3 in a hope of trying to reclaim the victory. But it's all going to be tough, especially considering that the results of this grid go into the grid formation for our next race. So he's going to have it all to do when we move into race 3, Rory.
Yeah, it's good that he's back in the session so he can go, I believe the term is a last to first challenge for Moreira. You don't really want to be doing that in the Ferrari HP Esports, to be quite honest with you. That's sort of like a daily race type affair. But he's going to have to try and do that. It'll be fascinating. Again, another story we can watch during this incredible round that we've had here from Watkins Glen. It's been absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I'll tell you what is fascinating as well, this battle for P3, because Zach Doran has immediately come up into the fight with Renato Dornelles still sat in 3rd. Of course, he's had his challenges. Inestrosa isn't the issue anymore. It's Zach Doran who has got the fastest lap of the race so far. So, as we watch Dornelles come through the middle sector, the winner at the Nordschleifer Endurance event back in August, and now back here this time, though, at Watkins Glen. Bidding to add a P3 to his repertoire this time as opposed to the P4 he managed to obtain in our previous race. Though Zach Doran is going to make his life as difficult as possible. These two know all about the Nürburgring. They know all about Watkins Glen as well, I'm sure. Both taking part in major events. But Dornell is carrying a weight of experience dating all the way back since 2009 and looking to utilise it this time. And the man from Porto Alegre in Brazil looking to celebrate strongly. Of course, fellow countryman Gabriel Felipe is sat in 2nd as well, with Alvarado still holding on to the top of the shop. The man from Argentina and Buenos Aires still leading the way with 8 laps concluded, and they've got 55 seconds before this race comes to an end. Hamza Gulzar again on the tail of Skylar Loverink as they cruise through towards the S's section. Oliveira and Rivera as well watching all this unfold right in front of them. The question is, does Hamza Golzar go for the move this time. I think he might. He's going to look to try and go alongside. The 2.296 now cruise up through towards the inner and outer loop, but I think Loverink has got enough in his locker to defend the place. Certainly does, as they head through the outer loop this time at turn 5. Loverink remains in 4th.
Yeah, great defensive work there. Great defensive work by Loverink, because it's not easy. I mean, that bus stop is difficult enough as it is, let alone when you're going in at a tighter inside angle that you're forced to do by the car behind there. Otherwise, they're just going to be up the inside. No one really goes around the outside in the bus stop, and there's normally tears if people do try it. But this is a fascinating end to this one. Let's see if he can hold on. We've got a couple of guys behind as well. We've got Oliveira and Rivera, the two errors there coming in from behind. Let's see if they can do anything in this final sector. But yeah, looks like Alvarado is going to take this one home.
It certainly looks that way. The seconds have ticked to 0. And the yellow Ferrari 296 belonging to Nicholas Alvarado that showed his formidable and true pure pace colours in qualifying. He was outdone by Fidel Moreira in race 1, but this time it's retribution for Nicholas Alvarado. The Argentinian takes home 25 points in race 2, and what a way to do it. Clear of Gabriel Felipe in 2nd. Zach Doran, I think, managed to pinch that 3rd place as well. So we've seen Dornelles dropping down a flood of places. He's down into 11th, I can see, Rory. Heartbreak for Dornelles. Zach Doran's perseverance, though, has led him to taking the fastest lap and the final podium place.
Yeah, I've got no idea what's happened there. We have to send out a search party for Ronaldo Dornelles there, because he is continuing to tumble down the time series, which means he hasn't finished at this point, which is absolutely incredible. Hopefully we get to see what's happened there. I was going to say that he has probably been the hardest working driver out of everyone so far. He would have earned every single point that he got, but unfortunately it looks like here in race 2, all that hard work, well, it's confirmed that it's for nothing.
Well, I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal. We've seen 3 top drivers from the very top of our timing screens actually lose out. Fidel Moreira being one of them, of course, looked to be on cue to perhaps taking yet another bountiful of big points. Unfortunately then, of course, we saw later on Angel Inestrosa, of course, we lost him then after that, and then it was Renato Dornelles, who's unfortunately lost out on a podium here. Of course, remember, finished 4th in our first race, but all the plaudits going to Nicholas Alvarado, which is obviously absolutely fantastic. But we are being told that we believe at the very least that there was a technical issue for Dornelles, which led to him dropping down through the field. But well done to Nicholas Alvarado. I mean, whilst obviously a few drivers had their own problems to deal with, you've got to give Alvarado credit. He fought right at the start. It was all about that move heading in towards the 90, wasn't it? At turn 1, Rory, that was what really brought him to the dance, getting ahead of Fidel Moreira, and that is quite the flex.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we spoke about beforehand, wasn't it? Is getting that run down to turn number 1 sorted. And here we go, actually, George. Do you want to have a quick run through to see where we are after round 2 quickly before we jump into what happened in that last one?
Why not? At the top of the standings now, it's Nicholas Alvarado on 43 points. Gabriel Felipe in 2nd on 33. Fidel Moreira, victor in race 1. Issues in race 2. He still remains on 25 points ahead of Zach Doran, who after finishing on the podium claims 23 points so far. 4th place for him. Skylar Loverink in 5th on 16. Renato Dornelles on 12. He's also joined by Hamza Golzar as well. They are in 6th and 7th. And then Ricardo Rivera on 12 points in 8th place as well with them. We'll take you through P's 9 downwards as well. Angel Inestrosa on 11 points. Vinny Oliveira in 10th place on 9 points. Luis Velez on 4 points. Ruby Neko Marta on 2 points. Then we have Alex da Costa, Andrew Rados. Then, of course, Coadromo and Mateus Alves all on 0 points, chasing their first points of this championship charge. We've got one more race to bring you that stretches it across 15 minutes, and I'm sure we'll have more of our major questions answered. But one thing that has to be sure, the driver's dealing with variable amounts of issues, not just what goes on in terms of Watkins Glen, but getting the technical side right as well, Rory. But we can't take anything away from Nicholas Alvarado at this point. That was a fabulous win.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going back to the technical issues there. Again, we've all been there. We can all sympathise with the guys who have had issues. We've all been there when we've disconnected for the race. You know, it's something that happens in sim racing. And unfortunately for these guys, it's happened at a really, really inconvenient time. But absolutely, the top guys, it looks like there's a pretty clear top two in this one. Of course, only 2 drivers from each region in ACC go through, so it's critical. Another thing that was critical actually was Angel Instroza got that 1 point. So the critical thing was that he didn't get any damage. He at the sort of what do you call it? Basically, he took the point after Dornelles had his issue.
At the expense of Dornelles, wasn't it?
There you go.
That was the word. See,
At the expense of the big bucks, George.
Yeah, at the expense of Dornelles, you're absolutely spot on, Rory. I mean, obviously, it was a huge return for Inestrosa. Needed that as well, and he's not out of this fight either because, of course, he finishes in P10. He will, of course, get the chance to go again. Obviously, when we take to the track in race 3, and starting from P10 is obviously better than P11 at the end of the day. Needs every place he can get. You never know. The running towards turn 1, we've seen it at the 90. A few drivers getting it wrong. You know, it opens a few doors. Alvarado was able to plumb on the weaknesses of others that were sat in the top 4 to gain the race lead. So it's not out of the question here for Inestrosa. And I tell you what, if he takes, good points out of this, a podium, maybe even a victory, we could see one of the greatest race performances of the championship so far.
It would be one hell of a race for him to take the victory here for sure. But as I say, he's a very good driver. He can do it. I mean, this third race again after every single stage of these rounds, new things happen. I absolutely love the storylines of these things. So Quali first, then it dictates what's going to happen at round 1. So we saw that Instroza didn't quite get past Dornelles, and it came back to haunt him in the next 2 races. And it was so close. Everyone was in with like 1/10 of a second, right? So, or half a tenth, those top 4 were. So, and then that set the scene for race 1, set the scene for race 2, and now we've got race 3. We've got quick guys coming from the back after their technical issues. We've got guys at the front who are just looking to bring this one home. Yeah, it's pretty good fun, this, isn't it?
Well, for the first time on ACC, we're not going to see a 3 in a row. Of course, it was Russell Reyes who did it in the Asian Pacific region. Aidan Walshingham did it in the European region. We're not going to see it in the Americas region. It's going to be a whole different affair. The question is, will someone take a second win? We'll wait and see. Obviously, the one to watch is going to be Nicolas Alvarado after taking victory in the last one. Unfortunately for Fidel Moreira, he's going to have a little bit of work to do. If he can pull off the essentially last to first, that would be sensational in its own right. But I think achieving points for Moreira is the minimum as far as he's concerned. He just needs to try and get into that top 10. We take a look at PAM pictures across this picturesque Watkins Glen circuit. It's international layout that we are taking on at the moment. Of course, we've witnessed already many big moments around every single corner. Let us know what your favorite moment's been as well in the live chat. Also, why not let us know in the live chat as to who your driver is, who's the driver, or which drivers are you supporting here tonight? Obviously, we have got quite a bountiful number of top-end superstars that are competing in the heights of SRO in GT World Challenge events, and then also in GT Sprint Series action in NWS and many others as well alike. We're seeing, though, as well, a few drivers that have come across in the world of real-life racing and competing out on the virtual track as well, Rory. We've seen a couple in iRacing, we've seen it in AC, we see it as well in ACC, and I can think of many names that we have as examples as well, even the likes of James Baldwin, for example, who competed in British GT and actually was a winner at Brands Hatch in British GT alike. It just goes to show that if you've got the skills in a sim rig, you never know, you could be just as good in real life.
Yeah, it's like a race driver's treadmill. This is, as David Perel once mentioned, I saw. These things are, not that I've ever driven a GT3 car before, but I've heard it's pretty close to the real thing. And you get plenty of transferable skills. Like you say, we've seen it with James. We see it obviously with Jimmy and Steve as well. So there's plenty going on here. And I love the fact that these sim racers have even taken it. I mentioned it in the first round that I commentated on with you on the opening round, that they actually took it to the real guys in the Race of Champions, didn't they? So bringing F1 drivers, I do believe, right? So there's definitely a just because it's on a PC does not mean they aren't up there with some of the guys who do it in real life and are better than some of the guys who do it in real life. These guys are the top of the top, and it's fascinating to watch them.
It certainly is, of course. Lucas Blakely being one of them. If we take a look at the F1 side of things, of course, he went on to beat the likes of Sebastian Vettel, for example, who is, of course, a former Ferrari driver from back, of course, had his final season with Ferrari back in 2019 across the likes of, alongside Charles Leclerc, who would recently go on to take the Italian Grand Prix victory for the Scuderia and the Prancing Horses. So incredible to see those names intertwined. And again, alluding back to that real life side, Angel Inestrosa, of course, we've spoken about him, not necessarily for all the right reasons after race 2, but he fought back bravely. He, of course, drove around the Nürburgring back in 2022. So many drivers, of course, furthering their passions from sim racing into the real life sense, and then also back into sim racing alike as well. As we now watch the cars get ready, what are we expecting for race 3, Rory?
Well, let's see. My eyes are actually on a few people. I want to see if Alvarado can repeat. I'm going to see if Duran can continue his ascendancy, see if he can get a win in this one, and then we're going to look down the bottom. Let's see what Dornelles and the like can do now they've got a massive uphill battle to climb.
Well, it's Argentina and Brazil on the front row. We're watching Gabriel Felipe make his way around turn 11 alongside Nicolas Alvarado, our victor in race 2. Will he be a victor once more in race 3? We'll have to wait and find out. Or will it be Zach Doran from the second row, or Skylar Lovrink in his motion rig, who takes it to the top? Green flags wave, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. And I must say, it's a great start there from Nicolas Alvarado, who straight away takes the inside line coming out of the 90. But Gabriel Felipe, oh wow, being coasted off wide, and that's allowed Zach Doran to swiftly move up into second, and Hamza Golzar as well in this fight alike, as we now watch them cruise up the hill through the back straight. Oh, huge crash further back, quite a few cars involved in that one, but our eyes cannot be taken away from the battle up at the front. Alvarado being challenged by Zach Doran, heading into the inner loop. It's Alvarado who holds back all pressures, still leads the way. He's clear of Doran in second place, Lovrink in third, Gabriel Felipe down in fourth.
It has all kicked off behind. We've basically got a 4-car race now. Everybody else has been caught up coming through the S's. I don't know who lost it first, but then it was just game over for anybody behind. It was like that race at Spa in 1997 or whatever it was, when Coulthard dropped it and everybody else just piled straight into him. That was a ginormous crash. And the 4 survivors, well, let's see what they do from here. Will they play it safe, or will they go for it? They've got such good results in the bag. Do they think of the championship, or do they go for it? Interesting.
Pure visions of Spa 1998, Rory Alexander.
88.
Absolutely.
98, sorry, that's it.
Yeah, incredible. No, I absolutely agree. Absolutely amazing to obviously see that unfold. Obviously not great in terms of the drivers that are sat in behind. Just look at the sea of cars in the pits, Rory. Absolutely unbelievable. Golzar, Oliveira, Rivera, Inestrosa, Barrios, Alves, Moreira. Our former race winner from race 1 is also in the pits, so didn't even get out of the blocks. It's Alvarado, who's now clear. Zach Doran with a great chance of potentially up in the ante as far as he's concerned. Still chasing after our race leader, who is looking to go back-to-back. Lovrink in third, Gabriel Felipe in fourth, Jose Este, the victor in race 1 in split 1. Back in the regional qualifiers, or should I say race 2 in the regional qualifiers. He would finish P2 in race 1 in the regional qualifiers at Spa. He's also brought himself into the P5 fight, so some good points going the way of Jose Este, but he's got to keep Renato Dornales in behind him in P6.
I am smiling from ear to ear here as we saw through P6. Renato Dornelles is back in the game after his disconnect on the final lap last time. He's now in P6. He must have picked his way through all the carnage. Ah, incredible. What a fascinating race this has been already. And yes, plenty of cars in the pits. Absolute chaos back there.
It is. I mean, Last of Us is on, Rory, surely. Dornelles up into 6th place. So remember, of course, getting disconnected when he did would have pushed him right to the back of the field. But nevertheless, has been versatile enough to at least dodge somewhat of the carnage. I mean, I'm not sure whether he's carrying damage on his car, but he's going to be relentlessly closing on the back of Jose Este at the very least to at least pick up some additional points. But this has thrown a huge opportunity to Nicolas Alvarado to retain the top of the championship and also take home his second win with 50 points in the last 2 races, which could be huge. Zach Doran, we ride alongside him, or right on board with him, at least for now. The man representing from Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, United States of America, coming in towards turn 1 at the 90 and utilising all the curb as well on the escape. He'll rise up through the S's. You can bet your bottom dollar Doran would love the taste of victory here in this final race.
Yeah, he's been doing better and better and better. This is his best position he's had so far after getting involved in that battle for P4 in the first race, making his way up and taking advantage of the people who are having issues in front of him in the second race. Now he's staring at the back of the leader. Can he do it at pretty much his home track? I would say it's not too far away here, Watkins Glen from Pittsburgh. So yeah, it'll be fascinating. There are 10 cars, I believe, in the pits. It'll be fascinating if we can pull out the replay of that. I'd love to see who caused it or who was the catalyst for it, and how our man Dornelles picked his way through. Fascinating.
Yeah, like a needle in a haystack was Renato Dornelles, but found his way back through and in the fight. A few other cars as well, I think still crossing the timing line, so our timers are still getting updated as we go. And Mateus Alves, who is still out on track, not in the pits, but is crawling around the circuit. Fidel Moreira doing exactly the same as well. Zach Doran in second, within 3/10 of Alvarado, and is in the perfect place to just land a serious blow to the Argentinian as they head through turn 11. And Doran actually stretching away from Skylar Lovrink, who I think will just be content with holding on to this third place, but has got to keep Gabriel Felipe behind, which is easier said than done. Doran has got the pace behind him and has taken the fastest lap of the race so far. So a fantastic run here from Zach Doran. It was a 1:42.942 over that last lap that has now brought him into this front-end fight. The question is, does he plumb for a move on Alvarado right now, or does he wait, as now Jose Este loses out to Renato Dornelles, who is still on the flight, or on the fly, trying to fight his way up through the field?
Yeah, he was 3 seconds quicker than Jose Este in that one. I don't know if Este's got damage and he's just limping around right now. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Yamamoto can do anything as well. But yeah, he's got a nice big gap behind that. So even if Yamamoto passes him, he can just chill and hopefully bring home this 7th place for him in the last 8-9-ish minutes. But yeah, let's see what happens up front here. Is Alvarado going to do it again? I mean, Doran, he's going to have the benefit of the slipstream here. We've got a little back marker as well getting involved, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I do fancy Doran to go for this. I've seen a few things from him in this one. Let's see if that comes true and he goes for it.
Well, if Doran does win, it would mean 3 different race winners through the course of this one. From the action that we have had tonight, we have got a car just limping around in front of these leaders. So we have got a potential lapped car in a 15-minute affair as we now watch Gabriel Felipe chasing after Skylar Lovrink in a battle for 3rd place as they now head out of turn 11 and down the straight. Gabriel Felipe still trying to cruise after Skylar Lovrink to try and put himself back into podium contention. Alvarado coming up to that traffic now, and no doubt the blue flags will be waved, so Alvarado will be able to cruise through, but he might just use it for the tow heading up the hill, which could yet provide him a little bit of defense against Zach Doran in behind.
Yeah, it's not like Formula 1 here. You don't have to get out of the way in GT racing. So they have to go around him. Let's see if he plays it smart. It looks like he will. He knows his race is over the back marker, so he's just getting out of the way. He gets out of the way of the first 2. And the second 2 as well. Great driving there. Well done. You wouldn't want to influence the front 2 here. But Doran will be a little bit disappointed by that, I think. He would like to have tried to go for that and see if that back marker would kind of come into play a little bit. But you know, Doran's on Alvarado and Felipe is on Lovrink. So it'll be interesting to see how Lovrink is doing in that motion rig of his as he's under pressure here from Felipe. I can imagine he's sweating buckets, to be honest.
I'd imagine he's moving around quite a lot, especially in this sector, when we consider the fact that when you come out of the chute, you meet the toe, and then out of the boot into the heel. That is when, obviously, you meet some of the more progressive corners, and I can imagine the rig starts throwing you around somewhat. And Gabriel Felipe is going to ensure that continues as they now rise up the hill once again. But again, we're seeing immersiveness really creep into sim racing now, Rory, and it's fabulous to see. I myself am a user of virtual reality systems as well. And I'm proud to say as well that I think it's I really do think it's the future as we now watch Felipe running out quite far wide. But how long do you think before we start seeing more drivers utilizing VR software or VR hardware even?
I think you see more and more and more of it. For me, it makes me feel a little bit seasick, if I'm honest. But it does work for a lot of people. And I know a lot of top level drivers do use it, to be honest. A lot of guys in other series use it as well. It's just so close to the real thing, just apart from not having the G-force. So if immersion is your game, then absolutely VR is where it's at, because it's so good.
It is. I mean, I must say I enjoy it myself, and it does make you feel like you're in the car. And I have to say, you do sweat a little bit more for it as well. I'm not sure whether it's the factor or the virtual side of it, just playing tricks with your mind, I suppose, as you race around the circuits. But nevertheless, it's some experience, highly rewarding as well. But I'll tell you what is highly rewarding, as far as Alvarado is concerned, is taking a second race win. He could yet do it. We're watching our race leader right now, still persevering with Doran chasing him down. And Doran isn't going to let him forget it, that's for sure. And they've got still more lap traffic right in front of them here, Rory. So there's still a chance here for Doran that maybe one of these lap cars isn't quite as courteous as the one that they met earlier on.
Yeah, and even if they're not as courteous, it's still going to be playing in the mind of Alvarado here. That is not what you expect to see in a 15-minute sprint race, is back markers. Now, he wouldn't have seen what's gone on behind him. He probably would have seen it on the track map. But seeing these stragglers basically trying to recover and trying to just finish the race and see what they pick up is going to be something that's just taking his mind a little bit off what it needs to be on, which is, as we see, Doran right behind him and going for it as well. He's having to weave down the front straight here down into 90. He may well be on him, depending on how his run out is of 90 at the bus stop. So let's have a look here.
Yeah, well, Alvarado, we did see him weave in there from left to right to try and keep Doran at bay. Doran still the fastest driver out on track and has got the purple fastest lap. And we're now watching Doran now cruising up the long back straight and will generate some decent slipstream and will move alongside. Not necessarily content with making the move. I think he went for the switchback then, Rory, heading in towards the inner loop, which is a very ambitious move as we watch Skylar Lovrink now in trouble. Gabriel Felipe all over his tail. But I have to say, credit to Lovrink, he kept him in behind. Felipe must try again.
Yeah, credit to, we saw a pair of switchbacks there. Credit for Alvarado, credit to Lovrink, and credit to Doran and Felipe for even trying it. That is a crazy move. I mean, it's difficult enough getting through there as it is, let alone at a level like this. So, you know, they've only got 3.5 minutes left in this one. They've got good points in the bag. So, me being a conservative driver myself, I would personally be thinking of the championship, but these guys are clearly thinking about going for the race or getting the best result they can from this individual race, and it's amazing to see.
Well, there's points on the table. Bragging rights are also there as well for these drivers, and Alvarado coming out of the first, well, their first round, well, will be essentially here in this case, their first rounds here in the Americas side of things, obviously competing here in Watkins Glen. Of course, the next trip will be to the Earl Grey of World Motorsport, being Silverstone. A vastly different track to what we're seeing here. Obviously flatter with, should we say, perhaps some higher speed corners that they've got to meet. Of course, the furiously fast Copse Corner heading through towards the Maggots and Beckett section where they then meet Stowe is going to be enticing, I'm sure, for many. But for Alvarado, he certainly has been the king of the castle here as far as Watkins Glen is concerned. But Doran is looking to notch him down maybe a peg or two as they now cruise uphill once again. And still Doran showing all over the back of the white Ferrari 296. 2 minutes and 20 to go. We're now well within it, and quite a defensive line then from Alvarado, just not showing too much, taking a very pointed approach, heading through the chicanes. and will very shortly be met as well by the traffic. Just look at the amount of traffic they have in front. Blue flags again being waved by the marshals on the side of the circuit.
Yeah, we're looking at the battle for P3 here, but what I want to see is the battle for P1 between Alvarado and Doran. Look at Doran there. Very similar here. We got the yellow and blue car versus the white and blue car, but the one we want to be seeing is the yellow and blue car in front, ideally if we can, because I think Doran is going to absolutely go for this. There we go. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Here we go. We should just settle in now and let's just see how this one unfolds.
Well, they got a minute and a half to decide the fate of this race. And looking behind, it's absolute chaos further back. We've seen some of the lap cars coming into this. And obviously, Loverink has got his own battles here now unfolding. And it looks like it might have caused Felipe a little bit of a headache or two. Running wide, Zach Doran. He carried it far too wide. And again, it's happened in the background as well. The lap cars causing a stir for those in the fight over third place. Alvarado weaving on the circuit, trying to break the slipstream that Doran has. Goodness me, that was a helter-skelter moment, Rory.
Yeah, I mean, it's commentator's curse there. You say, oh yeah, can we look at P1 and P2? And then it all kicks off with 3 and 4 and some back markers. But this is going to be the last lap for these guys here. We've got 50 seconds left. We're on board with Doran here. This is going to be his last bunch of opportunities to take this win. He'll be happy with P2, I'm sure, but P1 would be a nice way to end the evening.
Certainly will. Doran won't get it though, heading in towards the inner loop as we ride on board with him, heading through out of turn 5 and still chasing after Nicholas Alvarado. You get the feeling the tension is starting to build. Alvarado, how's your bottle? Can you go back to back? That is the big question, because Zach Doran is going to pressure you every which way through the apexes of Watkins Glen as they now cruise uphill through this middle sector, out of the chute, through the toe, the boot, and then down towards the heel. Well, they'll then go uphill, but they'll now cruise through the boot this time around this semi-straight where Doran could just nestle himself in the slipstream. He's not generating a lot of straight line speed. Alvarado finding that second wind here in the closing stages of this absolutely scintillating and dramatic race 3 that has seen various cars spilling off the circuit, many of them rejoining though as time has gone on. But Nicholas Alvarado, he was there at the very starting qualifying, battling over pole position. He of course would lose out in race 1. Running wide though is Doran, who very nearly lost it again as he did in our previous race, but nothing is going to stop Nicholas Alvarado, who will come across the line. Back-to-back victories for the Argentinian. Buenos Aires will celebrate. Nicholas Alvarado will celebrate as well. He's the runner-up at Silverstone. He's a winner here at Watkins Glen. Fantastic action on part of Alvarado to take this victory. Another 25 points to his name. And that will, of course, go towards his championship charge. And look at what it means to him, Rory. Emotional scenes there from the Argentinian.
Oh, you absolutely love to see it, don't you? This just goes to show what it means to these. Oh, he's a little bit emotional as well with the family. Absolutely fantastic. I don't think that's how he thought his evening was going to go. Just like Moreira, who I don't think he thought his evening was going to go quite that. He comes home in 12th place just as a result there. So after taking victory in the first race, he then has issues in the second and it doesn't score any points in the third. Fascinating stuff.
Absolutely fascinating indeed, and a good bit of news for Nicholas Alvarado. We allude to his runner-up at Silverstone in the NWS GT3 Sprint Series back in 2022, Gold Class. That is great form because, of course, the next track we go to here in the Americas region on Assetto Corsa Competizione will be Silverstone. So he has got form, so he might be able to cause a stir once again. We'll have to wait and see. Here are how the points look after race 3. It's Nicholas Alvarado. He went back-to-back. He's now on 68 points. Top of the shop in terms of the regional finals here in the Americas region on ACC. Gabriel Felipe in second in the championship, 45. Zach Doran on 41 points, 10 points clear of Skylar Loverink on 31. 6 points then ahead of Fidel Moreira on 25, with Renato Dornelles on 22. Hamza Gulzar on 12 points, as well as Ricardo Rivera, who's down in 8th as well. We'll take you through from P9 downwards. Angel Inestrosa, who was in the heart of that massacre in our last race. Vinny Oliveira in 10th on 9 points. Bruno Yamamoto in 11th. Jose Este in 12th, with Mateus Alves on 4 points, with Louis Valles, as well as Devon Dunson on 2 points, with Ruby Nakamata on 2 points as well in 16th. I mean, what a phenomenal race we have witnessed. What a phenomenal trio of races we have witnessed. Certainly no one could touch Nicholas Alvarado. What a professional. The emotion was so raw, Rory. That is exactly what it means to these drivers. Obviously, a spot is on the line. A few spots are on the line to head to the Ferrari HP Esports Series Grand Final on the 5th of December at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. And no doubt it's going to mean a lot to him. The emotion was clearly visible, illustrated in his obviously the hug that he had from his I'm not going to presume anything, but obviously family friend or whoever was there to support him. And again, it just goes to show how far sim racing has come. We applaud these drivers as true gladiators. In fact, I think he's with us now. We have got our race winner from race 2 and race 3 and our championship leader here in the Americas region, Nicholas Alvarado. Nicholas, we saw the raw emotion come at the end of race 3. It's clear what it meant to you. What a phenomenal day you've had, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. It means a lot to me because I put a lot of effort into this, like 70 hours of practice in the last 2 weeks. It was everything that I had. If I couldn't do it, then it wasn't meant to be for me in these competitions. So if I didn't do well here, it was over. So I'm really happy that I could perform. I always had issues with this, and I could finally do it.
Well, it was a tremendous effort. I mean, you couldn't have picked a better time to win, really, in race 2, because, of course, it meant you started on top for race 3, which was actually a good thing, because you must have noticed the chaos that happened behind. I mean, what were your thoughts?
No, I saw a lot of yellow dots on the minimap, and I'm like, oh, thank God I am not there. But yeah, I practiced a lot of starts. I practiced starting like if I was P1, I practiced like I was P2, I practiced like I was P3. So I was prepared for every single scenario that I will encounter. So I knew how to send it. I knew that I had to send it into T1 and have a good run into the main straight, and it paid off. All the effort, it paid off.
Yeah,
That's why I'm so happy.
Well, talk to us about qualifying as well, because your pace was brilliant in quali. I mean, the first few laps, you were on top for quite some time. Obviously, other drivers came up to challenge as well. I mean, at the end of play, we had the top 5 all within a whole tenth of a second, which is absolutely unreal. I mean, just talk to us about that. Were you nervous in qualifying?
Extremely. Everything hurt because I knew I was the fastest or the second fastest at the worst case scenario with Moreira, who was insane. I'm really sorry for the DC that he had, but I had the pole position, and I don't know, I lifted the throttle in a corner because I thought I was going to lose it, and if I get the pin, I would get the pole position. So I was the ghost from the past of "you're gonna choke" started hunting me, and I didn't want to choke. And I'm really happy that I just changed my face into the race and sent it, gave it everything.
Yeah, well, it was a tremendous effort. Now looking ahead, we got Silverstone coming up very soon. You're runner-up here runner-up at Silverstone in the NWS GT3 Sprint Series back in 2022. So you've got form at that track. Do you think it's going to be a good round for you?
I despise that track, not gonna lie. I despise it. That one and every single British track, I hate them all. But I will again put 70 hours of practice into it. I will get good at the Silverstone, and I'm gonna finish the job, because the job is not done. That's the main takeaway. The job is not done. Yes, the result is amazing. That's what I need, but I need to finish the job. I need to do well at Silverstone. I'm gonna give it my all.
Well, as a British person, we love you too, Nicholas. Congratulations on a fantastic
Thank you.
No, you did a great job. We wish you the best.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all my friends, because if it wasn't for my friends, I wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't have a wheel. I wouldn't have anything. That's this victory is for them, for my friends. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my family that support me for so long into this, and I'm doing it for them.
Incredible emotion. Thank you so much, Nicholas. We wish you all the very best. Congratulations after a scintillating first round. We'll see you at Silverstone.
See you at Silverstone. I'm gonna get the good.
Great
What a
character.
hero.
Look at this Alvarado. What a hero. I think already has become a fan favorite after that, especially after that serious moment. We won't obviously allude to his comments as far as British circuits are concerned. But what we can say is that tonight, as far as he's concerned, was a brilliant night and a wonderful night that obviously meant a lot to him, Rory. I mean, we talk about sim racers maybe, almost being recluses in some way, but it just goes to show that emotion is still palpable in amongst even the highest drivers at the top of the tree. And obviously, when you factor in what Alvarado has done tonight, it's huge. I mean, he's put himself in a great position to qualify for Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's amazing to see that. It really hits home when we get these cameras of these guys who are at home. The next thing his friends probably could donate to him is a light. Maybe we can hook him up with something like that. I don't know. But bless him, absolutely.
We just want to show his face after what he said just now.
Yeah, maybe not. We know British friends giving him lights after what he said about our tracks. But no, for absolutely amazing. It does show what it means to these guys and really brings the personality out of these drivers. Because when you're just watching it just looks like cars with a little name tag. But then when you flick to the guys, we've got guys in motion rigs, we've got guys basically in the dark, like just absolutely focused in. 70 hours of practice he did round one track. That is crazy. Absolutely crazy. I mean, you can do the maths on how many laps that must have been. But yeah, it's amazing, and and I'm not surprised there's so much emotion involved with how much goes into it and what is on the line. A spot. Yeah. I mean, I don't even want to say it. It would be amazing for any of these guys.
Yeah, it would be obviously a spot to be part of the Ferrari HP Esports team as well, which I'm sure would mean a lot to every single driver looking to take part. And you can take part as well, folks. If you missed out on the regional qualifiers, you can take part in the Thrustmaster Community Cup Hot Lap Challenge. Be sure to take part in the weekly events leading up through towards the midpoint of October, where of course the fastest lap as well come the end of the competition could get a spot as part of our wildcard entry at Ferrari World Yas Island Abu Dhabi in the grand final of the Ferrari HP Esports Series. So be sure to head across to the website and get involved. Don't forget standalone weekly prizes as well, given out to the fastest laps each week. You will, of course, win a prize, a Ferrari wheel add-on as well. So be sure to get involved, folks. Very nice prize. But at the end of the day, all the prizes went to Nicholas Alvarado after taking 2 race wins back-to-back. Unfortunately, the same could not be said for Fidel Moreira, who won our opening race. Technical issues were aplenty. There were struggles across the grid, but Alvarado rode above them all and rose higher than anyone else. We'll see if he can do it again at Silverstone. We'll see you then, folks. Goodbye.